Now, one thing that keeps blowing my mind is the things people build in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Before the game came out, I already expected to see some crazy stuff thanks to all the Zonai devices in the game. But gosh, I never expected to see a level of creativity that's normally only seen in games like Minecraft. And so today I thought it would be fun to look at some amazing creations from people online. So let's look at the 10 best builds I was able to find. Number 10. While you can do a lot with the Zonai devices, you are limited in certain ways. For example, the maximum amount of things you can fuse together, which is around 22. However, another big limiting factor is energy. At some point you will run out of juice, which can be a problem. But it seems like someone has found a solution for this problem. Sure, it isn't really that humane, but it works. As you can see right here, user Mopio Beast trapped an electric choo-choo and uses it to power his machine. And so he basically has unlimited free energy, as long as the choo-choo discharges. Because if he doesn't, then the machine will stop working again. It's cool to see that electrical enemies can power machines, but I wouldn't say this is very useful, especially for the amount of effort it takes to set up. Sure, it might save you some energy, but at what cost? Number 9. Now, when I see short Tears of the Kingdom clips online, most of them show off amazing devices that are incredibly complicated. And while these are certainly impressive, I am also a big fan of less is more. And so I wanted to feature something more simple, but still interesting. Like this Mississippi-style boat made by Oliver Klozov, which he uses to conquer the waterways of Hyrule. Now, it's based on the steamboats that played a major role in the 19th century development of the Mississippi River and its tributaries. Back in the day, these allowed for practical large-scale transportation of passengers and freight both up and down the river. And now they can be found in Tears of the Kingdom, because you can build one out of wood and only 2 Zonai devices. He used a big wheel for the paddle wheel and a steering stick to control the boat. And while it isn't the fastest, it does look good and seems to be pretty energy efficient. So sure, not the most insane and complex build, but still a fun one, and that's why I wanted to include it. Number 8. Now, the next one we will look at is beyond insane. When I first saw it, I didn't even understand how it worked. As you can see right here, user Leave I created what he calls a windmill. And yeah, it does look like one a little bit, although this one spins a lot faster than anything else seen in the game. Really, something like a big wheel could never reach these speeds. And so he uses it to send a Korok flying, hopefully in the direction of his friend and not into space or something. However, how does this even work? I mean, some of these parts aren't your standard Zonai devices. Well, according to the creator, the magic is in 3 electric motors that can be found in the Gamecube shrine. Normally, you don't have these, but if you fuse the shrine pieces to your shield or weapon, you can take them with you and use them. And so, by combining these motors with stakes, hoverstones, and what looks like an electric beam emitter, you can create one incredibly powerful machine. Man, oh man, it's crazy how fast it spins. Which makes me wonder, what would happen if you combine this with the Mississippi steamboat we looked at earlier? I bet it would go much faster. So that might be worth giving a shot. Number 7. Now, of course, we also have to look at some machines of death and destruction in this video. We have to get rid of Ganondorf's forces somehow, and so many Zelda fans have come up with interesting machines to achieve this. And this drone-like device is a great example, because it will bombard enemies from above while you sit back. It was created by Moist Influence 4959, and when it comes to the design, it isn't even that complex. You just need a couple of fans, a stabilizer, a large battery, a construct head, and a cannon. First, place one fan so it blows down, and then on top of it stack a stabilizer and a large battery. At that point, you place 3 fans equally spaced around the first one, and below the first fan, place a construct head with the head on the ground. And then for the last fan, you place it at a 45-degree angle, blowing the opposite direction the head is looking. At that point, you just have to add your weapon of choice on the construct head, and you're done. Now sure, it isn't the most advanced one out there, but it doesn't use too many parts and is very simple to make. And so you can whip it up anywhere, which is really handy. Number 6. Sometimes it is also a lot of fun in this game to make crazy machines that are pretty pointless, but pretty cool. And the next one we will look at is a great example. It is big, it is pretty fast, doesn't use that much power, but looks absolutely ridiculous. It is one gigantic wheel that just keeps spinning and spinning, and so you go forward. But what's cool is that in theory it should fall over, but it doesn't, which is all due to the stabilizer that can make almost any type of vehicle work, like this one. And another cool feature is that it can be used both on land and also in water, although it will probably fail if you go too deep, because these wooden feet have to touch the ground for it to work after all. Now sure, it isn't the most impressive thing out there, but it's easy to build and a shockingly effective way of getting around. Oh, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to ride on. Number 5. Now, when searching the internet for interesting machines, I also came across a lot of very dumb ones. Contraptions that are absolutely pointless, but still a lot of fun. And I think this next one takes the throne. For some reason, user RC created a massive disco ball in order to create the biggest party ever. Look at all those happy bokoblins dancing. Well, no, they obviously aren't dancing. Each time the light shines in their eyes, they are blinded for a bit. Now I bet that this wouldn't be too handy when fighting because of the effort and required parts. By the looks of it, it's made out of mirrors, a big wheel, and some stakes. Although I don't really know how it's staying up there in the sky because it's out of the frame. So yeah, fun, but not very useful. Number 4. Most machines you come across online are used for getting around or making the lives of bokoblins hell. But I also found some that do other things, like this thing here made by Mellowmarsh 540, which is used to farm chicken eggs. By the looks of it, you just fill it with cuckoos at the top, and then you get inside of it so you don't die. Because it seems like the device constantly hurts the cuckoos, which makes them produce eggs. Now these will come down due to the homing carts, which are used as conveyor belts, but as we all know, this is a risky thing to do. When cuckoos are attacked, they will call their friends, and this could lead to your end. However, inside of this machine, you are safe while collecting an insane amount of eggs, around 100 of them every 3 to 4 minutes, which is a lot. So I would say that this machine works pretty well. Number 3. Personally, I'm a big fan of all the builds where people make things that aren't necessarily useful, but just fun. And our next one is just like that. User GreedyAd1484 made a firework using some monster parts and a rocket. By the looks of it, he used some elemental choo-choo jellies to give them some color, while the bomb flower on top sets it off together with the Zonai bomb. But I bet you could also use a bunch of other things to make other types of fireworks. Number 2. Now this next machine is again not very useful, but it is incredibly impressive and one of the most complex ones on the entire list. The user C7Fab created an actual calculator in the game that functions, although it is limited to an extent due to the maximum amount of items that can be combined and on screen. By the looks of it, he used stabilizers, wooden logs, wheels, planks, and lights in order to create this thing. Now I will be honest here, I have no idea at all how this thing works, even though the creator explained it at the end of his video. But after looking at it again and again and again, I still don't understand it. Personally, I think it works in a similar fashion to an abacus, but I'm not sure. This is an ancient counting device that has been used for thousands of years in various cultures and countries. It's a calculator that uses beads or rods on a frame to represent numbers and perform calculations with. Now I'm not sure if this is the case, but it kind of reminds me of it, with the manual switching of the arms using arrows and everything. And it's cool to see that something like this can be made in the game, but it makes me wonder, will we ever see more complex devices like a simple computer or even more advanced calculator? Well, maybe. However, it could also be that this will never happen due to the memory and max item limitations. I guess only time will tell. Bonus round! Now, inspired by the creations shown in this video, I made something simple, fun, and fast myself, although I will say it needs some more testing. I thought it would be fun to make some sort of artillery piece that would require barely any parts or zonite. I ended up creating this after some trial and error. It's made out of 2 stakes, a spring, and then a platform so you can load ammunition. Overall, it did pretty well. You can shoot bombs, elemental fruits, and so much more. But so far, I have one problem with it. Sometimes the fruits don't go off. Sure, the bombs work perfectly, but they are also pretty expensive. However, this isn't the only issue. As we all know, the Nintendo Switch is really old at this point, so it lacks some power. And due to this, the rendering distance of the game isn't great, which is an issue here. Because yes, this artillery piece I built can shoot a lot of stuff very far, but due to the limited rendering distance, they just disappear. And if you lower it, then the fruits often don't go off. So it seems like only bombs combined with other stuff really works. Now I will try to improve it. Maybe other types of ammunition will work better, or another angle. But sadly enough, the render distance will remain an issue. However, if you have any suggestions for making it better, let me know down below. Number 1. Now for our last one, I wanted to look at something that was just epic. A machine to conquer the world with in style. And this mech, created by @W428549994, is a great example of this. It looks really awesome. Using a bunch of stabilizers, cannons, beam emitters, homing carts, zonai heads, and a steering stick, he was able to make this. And so we ended up with a badass looking mech that doesn't even cost that much zonai to construct. Surprisingly enough, it only takes 63, which is actually really good for a mech that can fight for you, but can also be controlled by you. Now I will say it's a bit overkill. The amount of cannons it has is a bit much in my opinion, so I bet you could get rid of these to save some energy. Although you might also want to keep those, because I mean this thing can destroy a battle talus, which is very impressive. Now these were all the builds I found, but don't forget, I also made videos where I busted myths in Tears of the Kingdom, so go check them out. Thank you all so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell button and everything. Let me know if you want more videos like this and more of the myth busting videos and everything. And yeah, give me inspiration for my little sort of artillery piece, my low budget artillery piece. Bye everybody, thanks, subscribe, click the bell button. Don't worry, you're not having a stroke.